Welcome to Rethink You, bringing you ideas, inspiration, and motivation to start living the life you were created to live. Here is your host, author, trainer, speaker, and coach, and founder of Rethink You, Kim Levings.
Well, hello again. It's Kim Levings with Rethink You, and welcome back to the Rethink You podcast. I'm looking forward to bringing you another great guest today. And before we do that, I did just want to say, I'm soon, in fact, next week, going to be launching a program called LEAP, L-E-A-P. This is a coaching program specific for those who are leaders of other people. The LEAP program is a 14-week one-on-one coaching with me to help your leadership accelerate to a new level. Take the leadership leap. Check out more information at kimlevings.com/leap. kimlevings.com/leap, L-E-A-P. It actually stands for Learn, Engage, Align, and Progress. It's a dedicated 14-week program, and I'm excited to bring it to leaders to help jumpstart their career. So let me tell you about today's speaker. Kathy White is a resident of Salt Lake City, Utah, and she is the founder, CEO of Waffles, Waffles Like You Eat, LLC. It's a company specializing in virtual reality team building to bring human connection back to the remote workforce. Kathy holds a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from the state of Utah and has held numerous management positions throughout her 20 years in corporate America. Kathy has a passion for adventure and travel and has been skydiving twice, and she has free swam with sharks, which no doubt we'll talk about. She feels most at home when hiking in the mountains in her home state of Utah. I met Kathy through a class that I did in 2020, and I've stayed in touch with her, and I've absolutely loved to see what they're doing at Waffles. So let's jump into the conversation. Right. Well, welcome back. We're going to jump into the conversation with Kathy White. Kathy, welcome to the Rethink You podcast.
Thank you so much, Kim, for having me. I certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, great. It's great to have you. So I know, Kathy, we met through a mastermind program that we were in, and I've enjoyed keeping in touch, and I enjoyed hearing the story of how you started your company. So why don't you tell us your story? And just as a caveat, I'd like to say that the Rethink You listeners enjoy getting to know people's stories from their early upbringing and how they ended up doing what they're doing, because very few of us are doing what we set out to do when we were children. So don't feel bad about going right back to the beginning and telling us your story.
Yeah, well, right back to the beginning. So when I was a child, I wanted to be a race car driver. That's what I wanted to be. I have a flair for adventure. I love to have fun. And I think as adults, we forget to have fun. We just get stuck in the mundane, everyday working, raising our kids, cooking dinner, going to work. And we just forget. We forget what sparks us and sparks our joy. And so I never made it to be a race car driver. But, it's still a bucket list that I get to go at least go on a race car track and drive for a few minutes, hours. I don't know. It's a bucket list. But that's what I wanted to do. And I ended up being really good at math. And so I have my degree, and I am an accountant. I've managed accounts payable departments for the last 25 plus years. And I don't love accounting. I love math, and I love leading. I absolutely 100% love leadership, and I'm really good at it. And so with my previous jobs, I worked for Overstock.com for a number of years, leading their AP department. And then my recent actual employer, because I just left corporate America this year, was for a company called Ultranet Products. And Ultranet is by far one of the best companies I have ever worked for. Their whole mission is to cure gum disease worldwide. And that's their mission. But what is really more impressive is how they treat their employees, and in turn, how their employees treat any person that comes in the doors at the Ultranet campus. And I learned a lot from that company. I learned how to be a really good leader. Even I've read lots of leadership books, and I learned about team connection and team building. Not that I didn't know about it. I just improved my skills. And so in March 13th, 2020, we all got a phone call in from our bosses, and we got told that we were all going to be working remote. And nobody really knew at that time what was going on. Nobody in corporate America, nobody in the world knew what was going on with the pandemic. And so, March 13th, we all packed up our computers and we went home. And we were going to be working remote until they decided otherwise. And which was fine. Some of my employees were excited about it. Some employees were not going to have to commute for 2 hours a day. And some employees were able to not have to pay for childcare anymore. So for the most part, a lot of my employees were excited that they got to work from home. And I didn't mind working from home, but I missed the connection when people would come into my office and just shut the door and just say, Kathy, this is what's going on in my life. What should I do? How can you help me? And so I started missing that connection when I was working remote last year. And because it's not the same. I mean, honestly, Zoom is not the same as somebody coming into your office and shutting the door and you're here one-on-one and you have that connection. And so what had happened is last year, I was trying to search for some kind of human connection, human something that I could connect my team back together. I could connect the employees within Ultradamp back together. It's an international company. At the same time, I was doing the mastermind class with you.
Right.
And so one of my type C goals, which is basically a goal that nobody knows how to do. And so the whole reason about doing the goal is to develop yourself. And I ended up creating a virtual reality team building company. And I had always wanted to name a pet Waffles, and I never got to that chance to name my pet Waffles. And so my husband told me, well, why don't you just name your business Waffles? And so I did. And
so I have to ask though, why Waffles? I mean, why did you want to name a pet Waffles? There's got to be a story behind that too.
Because I'm always unique and different. So there was really no story about it. I just thought it was a fun name, just different. I mean, not many people are you going to see name their pet Waffles. And then on top of that, now your business Waffles.
Right. Oh, gosh. That's just fun. But, I also wanted to sort of point out what you said earlier about missing the relational connection. I know that one of my previous guests, Dr. Larry McAvoy, you may want to go back and listen to his episode. He wrote a book called Epidemic Leadership, and he talks about these relational encounters. And that's exactly what you're describing. There is a limit to how much we can do virtually, that I think there is that human element that we're all still missing. So I just wanted to sort of re-emphasize, underline that point that you brought out. So, but not to interrupt your flow. So I know you started this company, and I mean, when we spoke, when we were in a subgroup of our own, I was hearing about the beginnings of this. So please continue.
Oh, so yes, that's awesome. I will for sure go back and listen to him, and that's awesome. But yes, and so being virtual, absolutely, we are missing an element of human connection. And I have found I had Zoom fatigue before Zoom fatigue was actually a thing. I was so bored with Zoom, and you can only do so much with 2D. And so we decided we vet out the whole program as far as, is it even a viable option to do team building in virtual reality? Nobody had done it at that point in time. And on top of that, not a lot of people know about virtual reality, and especially in like my age group. And so I asked my partners, have some partners down in Vegas that are helping build the program, build the platform. And we vetted it out, and it was an incredible idea. And it was, the timing was, it might be a little bit before it's probably going to popularize for everybody else, but that's okay. It's better be on this side of the trend than on the other side. And so I got together with my team, with the connection that John Tallarico actually gave me down in Vegas. We vetted it out, and I told him what I wanted. And I wanted a program to bring the human connection back to the remote workforce. And I didn't want an app, and I didn't want it to be on Zoom. I just wanted something just a little bit different. And if you ever have been in virtual reality, it's not necessarily the same as being in person, but it's close. And so you can see people's hand movements, you can see their face moving back and forth. And so it's a little bit closer. And so we're actually creating a game right now for team building. And one of my caveats was, if we do some kind of team building in VR, that it has to be for ages from 8 to 80, because the workforce is it's dynamic, and there's people that are older that don't really understand technology, and people that are younger that can get it just like that. But that was one of my caveats, and it had to be fun. It has to be fun, because that's what I'm about. And Waffles, I created an acronym for Waffles, and it's work and fun, foster leadership, engagement, and success.
Love it. Love it. Oh. Say that one more time, because I can hear people saying, what was that? They want to write it down. So say it again.
It's work and fun, foster leadership, engagement, and success. There's been many studies that if an employee is happy, they'll be more engaged, they'll be more productive, yes, which in turn will be more profitable for your company.
Yes, yes. I think, excuse me, I think this is just fascinating, Kathy. I love listening to it. So is it actually launched? So if somebody's listening to this and they're like, oh my gosh, I want to try this out for my teams, talk to us about how you're developing the company and how are you building out, the aspects of becoming a thing that people can actually access it and buy your stuff.
Yes. So right now we're building the actual platform on the Oculus goggles, which are Facebook's VR goggles. And so the game is being developed, and we should have a beta at the end of this month to be able to test. And if you go to vrwaffles.com, that's actually my company, and you can put your name in there, and it's a development site, but at least we'll have your email so that we can actually keep you in the loop on as we're developing. Right. And so if you want to follow the progress, then that's what I would recommend doing. I actually I didn't get interviewed because we're at such a pre-launch state of VR Waffles, but Ted Danson's Ted Danson's TV program called Advanced Technology or something like that, Advanced Media. I actually got a pre-interview with these guys, and wow. The guy that interviewed me, he said, this is such a great idea. He's like, go after it with all you have, because it's needed. And so yeah, that made me feel really good. I was like, oh, yes.
Hi there, it's Kim. And I wanted to just stop by and say, I hope that you're enjoying this episode. If you are, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe, whether you're on a podcast feed or the YouTube channel. As you know, putting out media takes time and effort, and we live for subscribers and reviews. So if you think this is a great podcast, please tell the world about us and be sure to subscribe. Thank you. Now let's get back to today's interview. As you developed this, what were some of the lessons you learned along the way? And then just, to fill us in, I gather you quit your job, so you're doing Waffles full time. So to pick up that last remaining thread of your life, at what point did you jump into this boots and all?
Yes, I left corporate America. I gave my notice in March of this year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was as a consultant for Ultradent until the end of May. And so I've been basically doing Waffles and then also life coaching at the same time this year.
Mm-hmm.
But my life lessons within Waffles itself, I've had some other life lessons that I'll go into in just a minute. But for me, is, if you have an idea, go after it. Just go after it. Most people let money hold them back, and don't let money hold you back. I mean, I know you have to pay your bills and everything, but money comes and money goes. And if you're not using your money for something, then you'll never know what might be on the other side of that. And so I'm excited to see what comes out of it. I've been very fortunate in finding my connections down in Vegas. I've been very fortunate with an awesome, awesome husband that's been so supportive of my crazy ideas, as some people call them.
Right.
So, but yes.
But it's a crazy idea that's coming to fruition, right? That's the difference, is that you're actually doing something with, and you're right. Sometimes we talk ourselves out of things with all the practicalities. And
yes.
Sometimes you've just got to go for it. But any other life lessons? So take us back to, you said you had other life lessons beyond just developing Waffles, and as a coach yourself, what are some of the wisdoms and lessons along the way that you'd like to share?
So when I was a single mom, I got divorced. My mom passed away in 2010. I got divorced in 2011. And then one day I woke up in 2014, April of 2014, I woke up and I had a really weird tingling on my lip right here. And so I didn't know what it was. And I look in the mirror and it was a half of a fat lip. And I thought that maybe I hit myself in the night or something. I mean, I'm single, I'm sleeping by myself. I didn't know what was going on. And it was just so weird. And I went to work, and I'm just like so self-conscious. I had all my hair like over my face because I was so self-conscious of what I looked like. And then I went to the dermatologist. The dermatologist told me that I just needed to get Botox to go ahead and even out the lip. And then I went to my family doctor, and my family doctor said that I just had a cold sore. And if I had a cold sore, it was the mother of all cold sores. And luckily for me, working at Ultradent, and they're in the dental field, they had told me that it had something to do with my teeth. And I never in a million years thought that my fat lip would have anything to do with my teeth. And so I had made an appointment with an endodontist, and I went to the endodontist by myself because I thought I was going to get a root canal. That's literally what I thought. And I've had root canals before, so I knew what to expect. But I'm at the endodontist, and this particular one you're in a reclined chair. He pulls the TV monitor right in front of your face while you're reclined. And he's just shows you exactly. He's like, look, you have a black mass in your jaw. And I'm like, I have a what? And I had a golf ball side. I'm by myself at this point in time. And I had a black mass the size of a golf ball right here in my jaw. And I was like, I was just dumbfounded, crying, and I'm by myself, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Shock.
Yes, such a shocker. And I ended up having to go through numerous oral surgeon appointments and endodontist appointments, and found out that I had a jaw tumor. So I had a jaw tumor right here. And after numerous biopsies, they found it was not cancerous, which I was super grateful for. And I had so they ended up removing it. So they had to remove my tooth and the tumor, and then they had to move my nerve. And so now I still have neuropathy in my jaw. And so I also have a cadaver bone too. in my job. So sometimes if I'm not being nice, then my husband's like,
you blame it on the cadaver bone, right? Oh, wow. But what a tough experience, because, we do, when we tell stories on these kinds of platforms, you talk about your professional life and everything, but many times our true lessons and our sort of wake up moments come from these personal events that are never expected.
Right.
Nobody gets up in the morning and says, oh, I'm going to discover that I've got this major health problem today, so let me get ready for that. You can't plan for these things. They happen. So
absolutely.
Wow.
And yeah, so to carry on that particular, so 2014, I'm at home, I've had my surgery, and like a couple weeks prior, the mobile mammogram came to my work, and I got my mammogram for the first time ever. I was like, it's free and it's at work. I get a call a week later and tells me I have breast cancer. And so this was like all within a couple months of each other. So then I had to do a lumpectomy and do radiation for 6 weeks. And at the end of the radiation, and breast cancer is super emotional, and just because you're losing part of what defines your womanhood.
Yes.
And the jaw pain was painful, like physical pain, not necessarily emotional. I mean, it was emotional at first while I was trying to figure out what it was. But the breast cancer was emotional because of losing that part of what defines your womanhood. And then at the end of that 8 weeks of radiation, I couldn't sleep because my jaw was hurting on the left side, and then my right breast was hurting on the right side, and it was burning from the inside out. And so that's when I took a step back in life, and I'm like, what am I doing? What do I need to learn from all of this that I'm going through? And at that point in time, I was, prior to me getting the jaw tumor, I was going to a lot of parties, a lot of bars, and, probably doing stuff that I shouldn't be doing. And I'm like, okay, apparently this is what I'm learning right now. And so after that wake up call, my life went in a different direction. And, I've been so happy ever since. I feel like I'm a better mom, a better wife, a better friend, a better daughter now because of the things I've learned through that experience.
Wow. Well, Kathy, what a powerful part of your life that I'd never heard you talk about before. So thank you for sharing that. And you're right. So much comes from that, often the deeper the hurt and the deeper the pain in the experience, the more the learning and the more the personal growth, but also the gentleness. I think it brings a richness to people, and there's a depth to somebody who's walked that kind of journey. So, wow, thank you. Thank you for sharing. And now, if we leave that chapter behind and say, okay, now what's in front of you? What's the goal right now? Where is the focus and the mission for the future?
Well, I have a few goals. One of my first goals is more personal goal. And my husband has never been whitewater river rafting, and which I have. And so that's one of my personal goals, is to take him whitewater river rafting. And then one of the other things is that I support an orphanage in Kenya. And I just found out today that they got approved to get not a water well, but like a water tank. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to be raising funds for them guys to get for the survey, and so that they can have clean water. Some of the things we take for granted here in the US is just the clean water, the running toilets and all of that.
Yes.
Food.
Yes.
Yeah. So
the basics of life, right?
Yeah. So I've been helping the Jabez orphanage in Kenya with that. And then the other thing is, in order to get Waffles to the next level, to get it to where I would love it to be, is I'm going to be not fundraising, but raising capital for Waffles. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be doing capital, raising capital for Waffles, as well as I have a passion for female middle management leadership, and I am going to put together a course for leadership in that area, because a lot of times middle management gets kind of all of the flack. They get it from the top and they get it from the bottom. And I have a passion to be able to help them to develop what I can see, but they can't quite see yet.
Right. Wow. Just so you've got just a few little things on the horizon.
A few.
So you've been white river rafting before, but your husband hasn't. And it's, it reminds me of what we were talking on before we started the interview about your shark experience, and that you did for him as well. So I think that you're one incredible wife, to support him in these adventures. I hope he realizes how lucky he is.
Oh, thank you. So thank you. He's a very supportive husband. I'm blessed to have him.
That's wonderful. Very, very helpful in life. And, I wanted to also circle back around, Kathy, because I know that you've obviously recognized these in yourselves, but what gifts and talents have you become aware of? Because as you said earlier about your love of accounting and your love of leadership, but what other gifts and talents have sort of bubbled to the surface through your journey that you've become aware of, and how are you sort of building those?
I found that people find me easy to talk to, find out stuff about people that sometimes they don't tell their spouses. And then when they tell me, I'm like, you need to go tell your spouse. But I find people have found that I'm super easy to talk to. And then also, let me think about what else. I'm really good at leading, like I said. And then I found just recently, actually, I did a breathwork class last night. And I found that I love breathwork, and I feel called to lead classes in breathwork. And so I'm looking to be certified in breathwork. And it's an amazing tool to be able to relax yourself and to find yourself in a meditative place. And right now, with what's going on in the world, everybody needs something to help them to relax their minds and just relax their bodies. There's just a lot of stress in the world right now. And if I can bring light and love to somebody's life, then, I feel my day is complete.
That's fabulous. Wow. So powerful. And I think that you've only just begun. So who knows what the next 5 years are going to look like, right? So, Kathy, you've shared some great things with me. Is there anything else that you'd like to share before we close? Anything that you wished I'd asked you that you'd like to talk about?
Well, I don't necessarily think you didn't ask me. I probably didn't say, but I just really believe that everybody needs to find one thing in their life that brings them joy and do that every single day, whatever that is. If it's playing solitaire, if it's jumping in a puddle of rain, dancing in the living room, it doesn't have to be huge. It can be small and it can be free. And do one thing that brings them joy, and to see how their life changes over the next year. It will honestly change 180. As you bring joy to your life, you'll be able to bring joy to other people's lives. So
beautiful. There's nothing more we could add to that. So I'm not going to ask you any more questions, because I think that's like the exclamation mark at the end of the essay saying, just bring joy to your life. What a great reminder. So Kathy, this has been a delightful conversation. I so appreciate you sharing a piece of your story with us.
Thank you so much, Kim. I certainly appreciate you asking me to be on your podcast.
Thank you.